May I say this to you, that transition precedes transformation. Transition precedes transformation. Your life will go through transition. Remember, transition is the emotional and psychological and relational and financial adjusting to the impact of change. It is not just change that gets us, it is actually transition. It's transition. So a person asks Christ into their life, you go through a transition that precedes transformation. And part of that is where God takes the solitaire and sets them in family, Psalm 68. God takes folks and puts a community around them to help us in that process. It's a part of the healing thing. God will send us to a place. Notice that she got connected to a local church where she found loving people that didn't judge her, but they threw their arms around her. They helped her to be transformed, but she came in transition that ultimately led to a process of transformation that was about a 2-year process. It doesn't happen overnight, it happens over time. And it is great for the delivering or healing power of God to happen better over time, because when it happens over time, you're strengthening the faith muscles that it takes to get the transformation. You're strengthening those muscles to sustain it. If you get it quickly in a line and somebody prays for you and bam, it's just over in this, you take it away and never. I've found that individuals who are like that are much more prone to having a relapse than the person who has had a gradual process of where they've gone through transition that preceded the transformation. Does that make sense to you? And so God walks us through a process. There's a process. It's a process of being born again. Birthing is a process. It takes us 9 months for a baby to be born. I mean, a man and a woman can't just say, hey, we need to have children. Let's do it tomorrow. And then my son will be here by, Sunday. No. It doesn't work that way. It's a process. It's a process. You have to participate even with the rhythm and the seasons of life. Life has a cadence. And a woman's body is on a certain cycle. And if you don't catch it on the right cycle, isn't it amazing that there's only a 72-hour window every month that a woman can get pregnant? They must really get into beast mode when that 72 hours is. I mean, what are the odds of that? 4 of my children were born on the rhythm method. I guess I was lacking rhythm. I am not a big proponent of the rhythm method at all. I have 5 children to prove it. I'm just telling you, there are some different areas in your own unique and peculiar situations where God is about to step into your life. I'm just telling you, if you'll trust God and you'll put God on trial, He's able to handle it. I mean, is anything really too hard for the Lord? I mean, He is God. He gave desires, and God can change your desires. If you have desires that are unnatural, if you have desires that are aberrant, if you have desires that are away from His will, God did. Why do you think He said in Psalm 37:4, delight yourself also in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart? I believe that desires of your heart means that God will put His desires in your heart. He will begin to change unnatural affections, unnatural desires. You could have been a pyromaniac, a kleptomaniac, unnatural desires. And God can touch you and heal you in a moment of time. He can put His finger on you and walk you through a process. What He does sometimes, even in a prayer line, is that serves as the catalyst for change. So don't get discouraged and think that, well, it didn't take. No, it's a process. If you expected for everything to be consummated when God was just at the time of inception, there's something that happens in inception. We call it orgasm. And that begins the process of inception. And too many people confuse the orgasm with the birth. But what you touched in the power, that was the orgasm. That was the conception of it. God was beginning the miracle at that point. When He touched, that was the catalyst for it. That was the thing that put the seed in you for change. Everything that God does, he does on the principle of a seed. If he can ever get a seed in you, my God, and give it time. A seed, time, and harvest. It is a process of God. Seed, time, and harvest. Seed, time, and harvest. And then one waters, one plants, another waters, and God gives the increase. Seed, time, and harvest. How dare we stop somebody who's had the seed in them, who's in the process of having that thing watered, and they've not yet arrived to the point of the manifestation of the fruit of this thing coming forth with the increase, and we begin to judge them in the process, judge them in the transition where God is delivering them out of that depression. He's delivering them out of that aberrant lifestyle. He's delivering them out of the sickness where they've been. He's delivering them out of the alcoholism and the drug abuse and the sexual immorality. He's delivering them from that. They're in this place, and God is causing people in the streets to pop up and reinforce and bring conviction here. He's moving through somebody else. I'm just telling you, when you get on your face before God and you begin to pray for people that you love, God's got angels on assignment that are working on your behalf that you don't know anything about. You don't have to always be the one that's thrusting in the sickle and reaping. Sometimes you're just the one that's pouring water on a seed that is already in the ground. And God's got you, baby. He's heard your prayer. There's a strength, there's a power in a mama's prayer, in a daddy's prayer, in a grandma's prayer. And I'm just here to tell you that when we see people that are in process, we've got to be able to have the patience of Job and say, God, I thank you for what you're doing in them. They didn't see where the person started from, and they really realize that there is a seed in them. There is a seed, and we've got to be able to speak to that seed and prophesy to the seed and water the seed and encourage the seed, and then we'll watch the increase that God gives. God's got a process. He's working on something. He's working on something, and he's doing some things. He's going to give harvest to people that have never experienced harvest. They've always lived from hand to mouth. They've always struggled. They've never been able to complete this. They've never been able to have folks to be able to get married without having babies out of wedlock. They've never been able to finish school. They've never been able to hold a job down steadily. And there are some generational curses that God wants to be able to heal in our families. And I'm just telling you, if he can ever get our families healed, he'll get our society healed. He'll get the church healed. In everything that God does, God wants to start it in your family. And listen, if your family is jacked up and crazy, then he brings you into the family of God and lets you see at least some other folks that with a sane family. He'll bring you into the atmosphere of some folks that'll be able to love you and be able to encourage you like a mama and pray for you like a daddy. And they'll be able to see you be able to come into a process. It is a process that God has us in. And I'm just here to tell you that God's in the process of doing some things like we've never seen before. We've never heard it before. When Jesus opened this blind man's eyes in St. John chapter 9, it had never been heard of before that a man born blind had their vision restored. Some of you have been so discouraged by things that didn't work in your life. You've lost your vision. May I just remind you that God wants to be able to restore vision back into your life, to make you once again where everything has faded to black. Some things have knocked the wind out of you. When you get the wind knocked out of you in the spirit, we call that discouragement. Inspiration, encouragement is filling your lungs again with the courage to do this. And discouragement is putting a person out of the place of courage. And every time that God sends you to a place, when you get to that place, to your Siloam, your place called sent, I believe God sent you here. Because when you're just willing to obey God, even when you don't understand him, even when you don't understand him, I'm just telling you, there's a blessing in the obedience. There is a blessing in the obedience. There's a blessing in the obedience. If God tells you to go and lay your hands on somebody, there's a blessing in the obedience. If God tells you to put a piece of money in a person's hand, there's a blessing in just your obedience. And you might be arguing, God, I don't even have enough to even make it myself. But if you'll just go to your Siloam, into that place where you're sent, you will be absolutely blown away by what God will do in restoring and healing. And you'll come again seeing. When you get to that place, then you'll realize, God, I see now why you sent me there. I didn't know why you sent me to this place. I didn't know why you sent me to those people. I don't know why you sent me to this family. God, I don't even understand why. Why did you send me to this church? Why did you send me into this marriage? Why did you send? And it's when you go into that sent place where God has sent you. Not where you wandered out of disobedience, but where God sent you. When you go, you know, God told Abraham, Abraham, get up and go to a place where I will show you. I'm sending you someplace. Whenever you get with God, God is going to send you someplace. He'll not leave you where you are. He will grow you. He will mature you. God will develop you. You are on your way someplace. And as God develops you, He'll never get you developed and then not attach an assignment. In fact, He gives the assignment and purpose first. He says, I declare the end of a thing from the beginning. I speak the end purpose for which I want to come into manifestation. Then I back up and say, how am I going to do this? So God has already marked it out, even when you don't understand, even when you are confused, even when you are discouraged, even when you are frustrated. God knows the way. The question ought to be, Lord, where should I be? Because when I am where I should be, I'll hear what I need to hear. I'll see what I'll need to see. I'll know what I need to know when I'm in that sent place. The sent place is not always comfortable, but it is a place where you will find the enveloping glory of God that will begin to reveal something, and shackles, you know, scales will fall off of your eyes. And you'll begin to see into a brand new dimension of the realm of the Spirit, and healing will come. Healing, healing. God will heal your past. And the only reason that He's healing your past is so that He brings wholeness into your present, so that as you walk into your future, you don't take the sicknesses of your past with you.